There are truths about stroke that most of us have never heard, even after years of regular checkups. People usually talk about the basics, like high blood pressure, diabetes, or smoking. But that is only the surface. Hidden beneath are far more dangerous truths. The cold statistics, the silent killers lurking in the shadows, and the deadly mistakes we ourselves often make in moments of emergency. What's frightening is that these truths are exactly the reason why millions of people every year lose the ability to walk, lose their speech, lose their memory, and many never return to a normal life again. Yet, they are rarely spoken of clearly, so most people continue walking in the dark, completely unaware the danger is right beside them. Did you know that with every minute a stroke caused by blocked blood flow goes untreated, your brain loses about 2 million neurons? To put it in perspective, imagine your brain aging 3.5 years in just 1 hour. Not in days, not in months, but within only 60 minutes. That is not a dry statistic. That is a brutal truth. Or take another example. Many people have experienced brief numbness or weakness in the hand, or slurred speech lasting just a few minutes, then disappearing. They breathe a sigh of relief, thinking they've dodged the bullet. But in reality, that could be a TIA, a transient ischemic attack.
And did you know, within just 48 hours after a TIA, the risk of a real stroke skyrockets many times over? It means your body has already pulled the fire alarm, but you mistook it for a false alarm. And then there are the silent killers, like high blood pressure. Half of the people who have it don't even know. Atrial fibrillation, where the heart beats irregularly, creating blood clots that can travel straight to the brain, often leaves no noticeable symptoms. You may feel perfectly healthy, yet still be carrying a ticking time bomb inside you. Stroke doesn't just destroy the body, it ravages the mind and spirit too. 1/3 of survivors face depression. Many others fall into confusion, memory loss, or personality changes. These are invisible wounds, yet they linger on, wearing down not just the patient, but the entire family. And there's another cruel truth. In panic, many people accidentally make the wrong move right from the start, giving aspirin recklessly, scraping the skin, pricking fingers, or rushing the patient by car instead of calling emergency services. Actions that seem helpful can actually worsen the damage and waste precious golden minutes. In this video, we'll uncover the 5 most dangerous truths about stroke that everyone over 60 needs to know. These aren't the same recycled facts you've heard 100 times. These are insights that can completely change the way you view, prevent, and respond when stroke comes knocking. Stay until the end, because this knowledge could save your brain and your life, or that of someone you love. When people think of stroke, most picture it as a sudden, dangerous event, but few truly understand just how fast and devastating its damage can be. This is the very first truth, and the one that, as a doctor, I always emphasize. Every single minute during a stroke, your brain loses about 2 million neurons. You might think, 2 million sounds like a lot, but I have billions of brain cells. Losing a few shouldn't matter. Unfortunately, the reality isn't that simple. Imagine a vast forest, with each tree representing a neuron. Losing a few trees won't change much, but when a wildfire rips through and burns millions of trees in just minutes, the entire landscape is transformed, and often beyond repair. Science has shown that in just 1 hour, your brain can age the equivalent of 3.5 years. This isn't the slow, natural aging process. It's a brutal leap forward. And unlike your skin, liver, or bones, organs that can regenerate, the brain cannot replace lost cells. Once a part of the brain is destroyed, the memories, skills, and personality tied to it are gone forever. I want you to picture this clearly. In our brain, each region is responsible for a vital function. One area allows us to speak fluently. Another controls movement. Another stores memories. And another manages emotion.
When a blood clot blocks the flow of blood to the brain, these regions begin to suffocate. Within just minutes, they start to fail. And if you hesitate, that damage becomes permanent. Even more frightening, many people who notice signs of a stroke choose to wait. They think, maybe it's just temporary. Maybe I'll feel better after resting. But that delay is exactly what has robbed millions of patients of their golden chance. In medicine, we have a saying, time is brain. Every second of hesitation means thousands more brain cells are gone. Another part of yourself is lost. This is also why we always emphasize calling 911 immediately at the first sign of a stroke. An ambulance not only takes the patient to the hospital quickly, but is also equipped to begin treatment on the way. The sooner you arrive, the higher the chance of receiving clot-busting medication, and the greater the chance of recovery. Remember, a stroke is not just a medical accident. It is a direct assault on who you are, your memory, your skills, your personality, and your independence. With every passing minute, pieces of you are taken away forever. That is why the very first truth everyone over 60 must engrave in their mind is this: stroke devastates the brain faster than you can imagine. Never underestimate even the smallest sign, and never let hesitation steal away your chance to save yourself. If the first truth shows you the terrifying speed at which a stroke destroys the brain, then the second truth will send chills down your spine. Most people miss the golden opportunity to prevent a stroke, even when the body has already sounded the alarm. That alarm is called TIA, transient ischemic attack, or what's often referred to as a mini-stroke. The symptoms of a TIA are almost identical to those of a stroke: weakness on one side of the body, slurred speech, facial drooping, blurred vision. But there is one crucial difference that makes it incredibly dangerous. These symptoms usually disappear within minutes to hours, and because they vanish, 99% of people breathe a sigh of relief, thinking they've dodged the bullet. The reality is the exact opposite. A TIA is not a harmless mini-stroke. It is the first crack in the dam, warning that a flood is about to break through. Research shows that after a TIA, the risk of a full-blown stroke increases tenfold within just 1 week. And the first 2 days are the most dangerous. This means that even when the symptoms are gone, the risk is at its peak. Imagine this: you hear a fire alarm blaring in your house. A moment later, it stops. Would you calmly go back to sleep? Or would you rush to check if flames are smoldering somewhere? With a TIA, your body has already sounded the fire alarm, but most people choose to ignore it. The biggest mistake is thinking, if the symptoms are gone, then it must be nothing. That false sense of security has cost millions the chance for early treatment. Because if you go to the hospital right after a TIA, doctors can run tests, identify the cause, a blood clot, narrowed arteries, atrial fibrillation, and treat it to stop a real stroke from happening. But if you dismiss it, you are putting yourself at the highest risk. Some patients later recalled, "My arm just felt weak for a few minutes, then everything went back to normal, so I didn't go in." 2 days later, they were rushed to the hospital, half their body paralyzed. It all started with one small warning sign that was ignored. What I want you to remember is this: a TIA is not a passing inconvenience. It is a stern warning. It gives you a rare chance to stop a full-blown stroke, and that chance only exists if you act immediately. So if you or a loved one suddenly experience weakness in the arm or leg, facial drooping, slurred speech, or blurred vision, even if it lasts only a few minutes, never take it lightly.
call 911 right away. Don't wait to see if it comes back, because if you wait, the real stroke won't wait for you. This second truth can be summed up in one sentence. Never let complacency turn a golden opportunity into a disaster. When people think about stroke risk, they often point to obvious habits like smoking, drinking alcohol, or living a sedentary lifestyle. All of that is true, but those aren't the most dangerous culprits. The real threat comes from the silent killers, the ones lurking inside your body without you even knowing. Two of the deadliest are high blood pressure and atrial fibrillation. Let's start with high blood pressure. It's often called the silent killer because most people never feel any symptoms until it's too late. No headaches, no dizziness, no clear warning signs. Yet day by day, high blood pressure slowly wears down the walls of your blood vessels, making them thick, stiff, and less elastic. Picture your blood vessels like flexible rubber hoses. If water pressure is too high for too long, the hose will crack, bulge, or even burst. That is exactly what can happen in the brain when blood pressure isn't controlled. According to statistics, nearly half of all adults with high blood pressure don't even know they have it. They go about their daily lives feeling healthy, until one day a stroke strikes suddenly like a bolt of lightning out of a clear sky. The second culprit is atrial fibrillation, a condition where the heart beats in an irregular, chaotic rhythm, preventing blood from being pumped efficiently. Instead of flowing smoothly, some of the blood pools inside the heart, swirling around until it forms a clot. That clot can travel to the brain at any moment, causing a sudden blockage. What makes this so dangerous is that many people with atrial fibrillation don't feel any clear symptoms.
No palpitations, no fatigue, no chest pain. They only discover it when a stroke has already struck. Imagine carrying a ticking time bomb inside you, but without ever hearing the ticking. That's exactly what it's like to live with high blood pressure and atrial fibrillation left unchecked. So what should you do? The truth is, prevention is straightforward. Measure your blood pressure regularly, at least a few times a week, and keep a record to track changes. Have regular heart checkups so doctors can detect atrial fibrillation early through an EKG. Take your prescribed medications as directed. Never stop just because you feel fine. And above all, never rely on how you feel to judge your health. Feeling well doesn't always mean you're safe. With these two silent killers, by the time you notice them, it may already be too late. The third truth everyone over 60 needs to remember is this. Some killers live quietly inside their own body, day after day, and only proactive testing and early detection can save you from their trap. When people think of stroke, most immediately picture the physical consequences: paralysis on one side of the body, difficulty speaking or swallowing, or the loss of the ability to walk. All of these are true, but they are not the whole picture. There is a lesser-known but equally devastating truth. Stroke can shatter the mind and spirit.
Did you know that at least 1/3 of stroke survivors struggle with depression? These are people who were once cheerful, lively, and sociable, but after a stroke, they may sink into sadness, withdraw into silence, and lose interest in the world around them. Depression doesn't just torment the patient, it also slows down physical recovery, making it harder for them to regain independence and mobility. And it doesn't stop there. Many survivors also face severe cognitive decline. Sharp memories turn blurry. Simple tasks like recalling a phone number, finding familiar objects, or even recognizing loved ones become difficult, sometimes impossible. Others experience dramatic personality changes. Someone once gentle may become irritable, Someone once outgoing may grow indifferent and detached. Why does this happen? Because stroke doesn't only damage the parts of the brain that control movement, it can also strike the more delicate regions responsible for memory, emotions, and personality. When these areas go dark, the loss isn't just physical function, it's a loss of identity, of self. The sad reality is that these invisible wounds are often overlooked. Families may see that their loved one can walk, eat, or dress again, and believe recovery is complete. But what they don't realize is that inside, the patient may be fighting a silent, drawn-out battle against depression, confusion, or personality changes that chip away at their very sense of being.
If you are caring for someone after a stroke, pay close attention to even the smallest shifts in mood or behavior. Don't dismiss them as just aging or just being tired. They could be signs of depression or cognitive decline, conditions that require medical and psychological support. This painful truth reminds us, stroke does not only steal physical health, it erodes the mind and spirit. Left unrecognized, these invisible scars can last a lifetime, forcing both patients and families to live in a quiet but relentless suffering. That's why the fourth truth you must remember is this: the consequences of stroke are not only what you can see, they also live deep within the soul and the mind. When someone shows signs of a stroke, the very first minutes are priceless. Yet sadly, many families make critical mistakes in first aid, actions that may seem helpful, but in reality steal away the chance of survival and recovery. This is the fifth dangerous truth every older adult needs to know. One of the most common mistakes is giving the patient medication on your own, especially aspirin. Many people believe aspirin thins the blood and can clear a blockage. But the truth is, not every stroke is caused by a clot. Some strokes happen because a blood vessel in the brain has ruptured, leading to bleeding.
In that case, giving aspirin actually worsens the bleeding, causing even faster and more severe brain damage. The second mistake is relying on folk remedies, like scraping the skin with a coin, pricking the fingertips to draw blood, or pressing on certain acupressure points. There is no scientific evidence that these methods help during a stroke. On the contrary, they waste precious time and can even add new dangers, such as infection or a dangerous drop in blood pressure. Another major mistake is choosing to drive the patient to the hospital yourself. Doing so not only wastes crucial time, but also exposes the patient to greater risks. In an ambulance, patients are continuously monitored, and life-saving treatment can begin right on the way. Without that support, you're unintentionally throwing away a vital opportunity to save the brain. The most important thing you must remember is this: every passing minute costs the brain millions of nerve cells. A mistake in first aid isn't just a delay, it can mean losing the chance of recovery altogether. So if you suspect someone is having a stroke, remember the FAST rule. Face. Ask them to smile. Does one side of the face droop? Arms. Ask them to raise both arms. Does one arm drift downward? Speech. Ask them to say a short sentence. Do they slur or sound strange? Time. If you notice any of these signs, call 911 immediately. While waiting for the ambulance, have the patient lie on their side with the head slightly raised and turn to one side to prevent choking.
Loosen any tight clothing and keep them calm. And remember, do not give them food, drinks, or medication unless directed by a doctor. The fifth truth highlights one essential lesson. In the middle of a stroke, the worst thing is not doing nothing, it's doing the wrong thing. Ignore myths and old-fashioned tricks and focus only on what saves lives, calling emergency services right away.
That is the greatest gift you can give yourself or a loved one when danger strikes. Let me tell you the story of Margaret, 72 years old, a typical American woman after retirement. She lived in a quiet town in Ohio, spending her days tending to the small garden behind her house and baking treats for her grandchildren. She had never smoked, only occasionally enjoyed a glass of wine, and always felt confident that she was healthy for 70. One morning, while preparing breakfast, Margaret suddenly felt her left hand grow weak and the spoon slipped from her grasp. She also found it hard to speak, as if her tongue wouldn't cooperate. But after just a few minutes, everything returned to normal. She quickly reassured her daughter, "I'm just a little tired, probably from too much gardening yesterday." And that was where the matter ended. In reality, Margaret had just experienced a TIA, a transient ischemic attack. That was the first fire alarm. But because the symptoms faded, she believed she had dodged the bullet. This mistake changed her life forever.
3 days later, while playing with her grandchild in the garden, Margaret suddenly collapsed. Her face drooped, her arm hung limp, her speech was slurred and hard to understand. This time, it wasn't transient, it was a real stroke. By the time the ambulance arrived, more than 30 minutes had passed, and in that short time, her brain had already lost tens of millions of precious neurons. Doctors discovered that Margaret had long-standing high blood pressure, but had not been taking her medications regularly. She often skipped them, thinking, "My blood pressure is only a little high, it's no big deal." On top of that, tests revealed she had atrial fibrillation that had never been diagnosed. 2 silent killers had been with her for years without her knowing. After the stroke, Margaret lost movement on one side of her body. The woman who once loved gardening could now only sit and look out the window. But even more heartbreaking was the damage to her memory and spirit. She often forgot her grandchildren's names, couldn't remember if she had eaten, and at times sank into silence and sadness. From a cheerful grandmother, Margaret became someone easily upset, often bursting into tears over small things. The family had to adapt to this new reality. Her daughter juggled work while caring for her, and the young grandchildren couldn't understand why Grandma wasn't the same anymore.
The pain was not only in Margaret's body, but also weighed heavily on the spirit of the whole family. Margaret's story is living proof of the 5 truths about stroke. Truth number 1, the brain is destroyed at a terrifying speed every minute. Truth number 2, a TIA is not something small, it's an early alarm bell. Truth number 3, high blood pressure and atrial fibrillation, the 2 silent killers, greatly magnified her risk. Truth number 4, stroke doesn't just devastate the body, it also damages the mind and spirit. Truth number 5, if her family had called 911 at the very first TIA, everything could have been different. Margaret is not alone. In the U.S., hundreds of thousands of families face similar tragedies every year. The only difference lies in this: who recognizes the alarm bell and who misses it. In the end, what matters most is not knowledge, but action. Because knowing without doing turns every warning into nothing more than a whisper ignored. Stroke does not wait, and your health cannot wait until tomorrow. Remember, with every minute during a stroke, millions of brain cells are lost forever. Brief warning signs, such as weakness in the arms or legs, slurred speech, or blurred vision, even if they last only a few minutes, are alarm bells. Do not ignore them. Do not let yourself or a loved one fall into tragedy because of complacency. Take action immediately. Call 911. Check your blood pressure, get your heart tested, and keep up with regular checkups.
Small steps today can save an entire future. with silent killers like high blood pressure or atrial fibrillation. Feeling healthy does not mean you are safe. Never rely on feeling fine to judge your health. Regular checkups are the shield that protects you from unexpected danger. And more importantly, share this knowledge with the people you love. Sometimes just one conversation, one reminder, is enough to save someone from disaster. Let this message not stop with you, but spread to your family, friends, and neighbors, those who are also stepping into their 60s and facing the same concerns as you. If you found what I shared today helpful, please hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. On this channel, we will continue to bring you vital medical knowledge, presented in a clear and approachable way, to help you live healthier, happier, and safer every day. Don't wait until it's too late to act. Start today, for your health, your memories, and the people you love.